Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode, I guess you could say, of our new series, which is the Just This Year Homeschooler live stream series. I think I said it right. Basically, I wanted to create a series of live streams for those of you who are planning on just homeschooling for this year because of all of the COVID craziness. And I know there are some really unique challenges and obstacles that you are going to face. And so I wanted to give you just some kind of targeted advice that is not necessarily the kind of advice that you would typically hear in homeschool circles, because what you're doing is so different. And so I know that because the homeschooling community in general is not really used to having all of these people coming in who don't plan on homeschooling long term, some of the advice that we tend to give people is not exactly going to work for you. It's going to be very different. And so many of you have not spent the time that most people have looking into homeschooling before diving into it. You're kind of having to make this turn on a dime. And so there are a lot of things that you're probably still concerned about, things you're struggling with. And so I'm going to talk about those specific things over the course of this series. And we will do this kind of indefinitely throughout the whole school year. I can't guarantee we will do it all school year, but I will definitely do it for the next few months. And if there's still things that we're coming up with to talk about, then we'll continue doing it then. We'll be here every Monday at noon Central, and you are free to ask any questions that you have. I do have a little window here on my laptop that I will be able to see your comments in, your questions. Just know that there's about a 10-second delay. So I say something, 10 seconds later you see it, you enter your question, and then 10 seconds later I see it. So there is kind of a gap there. So don't think I'm ignoring you if I don't answer you right away. It just means I haven't even seen your comment yet. So today we are going to talk about one of the things that tends to be a concern of every parent, regardless of whether they plan on homeschooling for just 1 year or long term, and that is socialization. Now, even homeschoolers this year are facing a very different socialization challenge, because all of us are kind of stuck in this weird, you're having to lock down or you're having to social distance, and most homeschoolers have no concerns once they get started with the whole socialization thing, because they realize that socialization is not the issue that people outside of homeschooling think that it is. However, for those of you who are starting homeschool this year, even if you're just doing it for this 1 year, it is going to be a challenge. And so today what we're going to do is talk about two different things. We're going to talk about what true socialization is, and we are going to talk about why you don't have to worry so much. So hopefully by the end of this, you're going to be feeling a lot more confident about the whole socialization issue. Like I said, feel free to ask any questions that you have, any comments that you have. But what we're going to do first is talk about what true socialization is. So socialization, when we think about what people tend to think socialization is, it is what they see in public school. So when your child goes to school, they are in a room with the same one person teaching them, usually. Okay, they get into middle school, high school, they start, yes, they're switching around to different classes, but they tend also to be with all the same people all the time. And the vast majority of the time, those kids are all going to be their same age. A lot of times, they're going to be the same skill level. If you're at a school where they put kids on tracks for like math, they're on the high math group, they're in the high reading group, or the low math or reading. They're put on these tracks and they're with the same kids all the time. Kids that are the same age, depending on where you live, they may be the same basic socioeconomic level. They may be the same nationality, particularly if you live in the suburbs and it's not a very diverse place. That was what I grew up in. I grew up outside of Chicago, lots of diversity in Chicago. However, in my elementary school, it was you were either white or Asian. That was it. And there were very few Asian kids. There was maybe one Black family in our whole elementary school. And there was some Hispanic, not very much at all, however. So growing up in public school, it was not diverse for me at all. It was very monochromatic, and we were all, middle class. And so that is very common for socialization in the public schools. Kids who are your age, who look like you, who have a similar existence to you. Now, When we are outside of the conventional school system, and whenever I say conventional, I mean typical, traditional public or private school. When we are outside of that, so once you get out of school and you're just living your life, right? What kind of people are you surrounded by? You are not with people who are the same age as you all the time. Chances are you are consistently interacting with people who do not look like you, who do not have the same kind of existence you do, not the same socioeconomic level, not the same nationality. We exist in a world of diversity, hopefully. And as adults, we are interacting with people who are different from us all the time. You go to the store and you're interacting with people who are cashiers, people who are managers, people who are just, who maybe are at the same socioeconomic level as you, but there's probably lots of other people there who are not. You're interacting with people who are older than you, who are younger than you. That is what true socialization is. It's the ability to interact with people who are not like you. They are older, they are younger, they are richer, they are poorer, they have different beliefs, they have different values. That is true socialization. And it's what I tend to refer to as vertical socialization because it hits all the different layers. Don't think of this as like, rich, poor. I don't mean it that way. It's layers. There's all these different layers to what makes up a person. Their age, their education, their values, their religion, their socioeconomic level, their nationality. There's all these different things that make up who they are. And when we have true socialization, it means that we are able to interact appropriately with people in all sorts of different strata, right? All these things look different than they do for us. When kids are in traditional, conventional school, it's what we call horizontal socialization. Everything is like this. There's not a lot of diversity. There's not a lot of different layers that look different from us. Yes, everyone still has layers, but all the layers kind of match up with us. There's very little diversity. Whereas true socialization is having that experience with lots of different kinds of people. So when you think about the opportunity that you have this year as a just this year homeschooler, you have the opportunity to get your kids out into the world, into diversity, into the city, into the suburbs, into different parts of your state, into different communities, so that they are interacting with people who have different kinds of layers from them, whose layers look different. So that can mean going into a part of the city, that maybe it's like a little Vietnam or a little Puerto Rico or a little Germany, whatever, right? And going to different restaurants and trying different food, meeting different people, hearing different languages being spoken. Maybe it means interacting with people in a homeschool group that even in that group has more diversity than your child typically sees at their public school. People get concerned about homeschooled kids not having socialization, but typically homeschool students have more of an opportunity to get true socialization because they're not tied to a desk in a room with kids who all look the same as them all day long. We have the ability, the freedom, the flexibility to go out and interact with all sorts of different kinds of people. And we do, because we want our kids to have interactions with other people. We don't want our kids growing up in a bubble. Most people who homeschool are not trying to sequester and isolate their child. They just know that the education they can provide as parents at home is superior to what the school can do for them. And so part of just being a good parent has nothing even to do with homeschooling. Just being a good parent means getting your kids around other people, helping them to learn how to properly interact in society with all sorts of different kinds of people. That is true socialization. Kids who are in public school all the time spend very, very little time out in the real world. School, all in one place. Sports, all in one place. after school activities, all still in one place, all still at the school. I remember being in high school, getting to school at 7 o'clock in the morning. And if I was in a production at the time, because I used to do musical theater, I might not get home until 9. I'd be there all day long. How is that teaching me how to interact in society? It's not. It's keeping me in one place with all the same people all the time. That's not true socialization. So when you think about what kind of socialization you want your child to have, what kind of a person you want your child to be, what kind of a citizen, how are they going to be a productive member of society? Well, in order to do that, they need to know how to interact with others, regardless of what those people look like. That is true socialization. And as a homeschooler, you have the unique opportunity to provide your child with opportunities that will allow them to build those skills and experiences. So, vertical socialization, good. Horizontal socialization, kind of pointless. Does not prepare you for the real world at all. Okay. Now, in terms of how are we going to get that socialization during this weird time? Socialization in the time of COVID, right? I want you to realize a couple of things. First of all, when we are trying as parents to instill our values into our children, help them become the people we want them to be, it requires that they spend time with us, right? How can you pass on your beliefs, your values, your worldview, your viewpoint, your perspective if you're not spending time with your kids? When our kids are in public school all day or private school all day, when they're outside the house all day, we don't have the exposure, we don't have the relationship with our kids that is needed to be able to pass those things on. When you homeschool, you do have a ton of opportunity to get your kids out with other people, but your values, your family priorities, your family beliefs are important. And it is okay to keep some of that time for yourself. Who is going to teach your child to behave the way that you want them to behave? Who's going to teach them good behavior? Who's going to teach them good habits and good etiquette? Is it going to be the kids that they're with, or is it going to be you? We don't want to hide our kids away. We don't want to isolate our kids. But we also don't want to fall for the lie that kids need to be around other kids all the time. They don't. Your child will be better socialized if you teach them how to be a good person, if you teach them good etiquette, you teach them good manners, you teach them good behavior at home, because they're not going to learn that from their peers. Their peers are at the same development level that they are. They have the same bad habits. They have the same, not great behavior. Your kid's not going to learn the skills you want them to learn from observing other kids. They need to observe you. So you do not want your child's day so full of socialization opportunities that you're not getting the time that you need and deserve as a parent to build relationship with your child and to pass on your values and the things that you find important. Your child does not have to be in classes and extracurriculars all the time. It honestly is okay this year to calm things down, to slow down your schedule, to not be running around to 8 million practices and classes and all of these things. If your kids are able to get together with other kids, once or twice a week, just to chill out and hang, that's all they need. Now, if you have a child who's really, really social, very extroverted, yes, they may feel like they need more time. And for their mental health, they may need some more time. But unstructured, just time to build relationship with other people, that is more important for a lot of kids than being in classes, being in clubs, being in groups. So if you have kids in your neighborhood, if you have, if you go to church and your kids are involved in youth ministry, if they're in scouts, now I know that's, a group, but they also have a lot of time there to build relationship. Even if you only did those things this year, your child's socialization would be 100% fine. You don't have to chock full every week full of stuff. We started limiting our girls on what they could do extracurricular wise because our life was getting crazy. They both do musical theater right now, which right now looks really weird because of all the COVID stuff. But normally it means 2 practices a week. And then they do their show and they're in tech week, which means we have practice every single day for like 5 hours, which is crazy, right? When they started doing that, I said, you know what? If you're gonna do musical theater, that's all you're gonna do. We're not also going to do gymnastics at the same time. We're not also going to do, instrument lessons. We're not also going to do art classes. Now, when you're not doing a show, then yes, you can do those other things. You pick one, but we're not going to do a million. You do not, as a homeschool parent, have to allow your child every single opportunity that they want. If they were in public school, they wouldn't be able to do that. Things meet at the same time. You can't do football and musical theater if practices are at the same time, right? You have to make a choice. You have to say yes to one thing and no to another. It's okay to say no to extracurriculars this year. If just trying to balance the homeschool thing and the work thing and the, domestic chores thing is already stressing you out, don't add to it. Don't fall for that, oh, but my child has to take every opportunity. No, they don't. They don't. It's not mentally healthy for your kids to have every single minute of their day, of their week, of their month scheduled. They need downtime. And yes, we want our kids to be able to pursue things that they enjoy, but you can't do it all, right? And so maybe it means this semester they'll do one thing, and then next semester they can change to something else. Or for this year, they can do one thing, and then next school year they can do something else. Don't let yourself get all hyped up on parental guilt, thinking that, oh, but if my child wants to do this and I don't let them, it's damaging them. No, it's not. Life is full of not being able to do what you want when you want, right? It's a life skill to be able to say, okay, I can't do that right now, so instead I'll do this. I can't do that right now, so I'll save up for it for later, because this stuff gets expensive, right? It is okay to say, you know what, we cannot allocate the funds to that right now. We just don't have the money for that right now. You can ask for money for your birthday or for Christmas. You can ask for lessons from grandma and grandpa for Christmas this year or whatever. But we can't do that right now. That's just life. And that's okay. It's okay to say that. So the idea of, oh, my child has to be with other kids every day, all the time. They really don't. It is a life skill to learn how to be alone and be okay with it. It's a life skill to learn how to be in a room by yourself, not on FaceTime, not constantly texting, not having input and interaction all the time. I honestly believe it's part of why we have such a mental health crisis in this country, because our kids never have downtime. They don't have time to breathe. They're in school all day, and then they go to this practice, and then they go to this practice, and they're being pushed to be really good at it so they can get a scholarship to college. And they need to be kids, particularly elementary and middle school. They need to just be kids. They need downtime. They need unstructured time. They need time. They need free time. Part of why we have kids going off to college and having absolutely no idea what they want to do with their lives is because they've had no downtime to explore things. They've stayed on one track all the time. They played baseball from 3rd grade through high school. They never did anything else. And it turns out they're not quite good enough to go pro. Well, now what do they have? They need to have downtime to be able to do other things. This might be the year that your child finally has the time to explore things that they never would have had the time to explore, that they might love. Your child might not even know what else they want to do besides the things they've been doing, because they've never had the downtime, the free time to explore those things. So when you look at what your year is going to be like in terms of socialization, do not feel like you have to cram in something every single day. Look for ways that you can get out, maybe once a week, out into the real world, and do something that puts your kids in contact with other people. Maybe it's going to the museum. Maybe it's, like we said, going to a restaurant that they've never been to that has a different kind of food that they've never tried. Maybe it means doing a meetup with a local homeschool group. Maybe it means getting together with their friends from public school. Even if they're still in public school, if they haven't homeschooled, they haven't made that decision, that doesn't mean you can't still hang out, right? When they get home, get together a play date, do it on Saturday, whatever. They don't have to stop seeing their friends. That is healthy socialization, having a healthy peer group, having healthy peer relations. Build those over this idea of having to be involved in official things. If your kid really wants to do something, or they've been doing it and you have the option to continue it, yes, go for it. That's fine. But also be 100% okay saying, you know what, not this year. Dad and I have so much on our plate. Mom and I have so much that we're trying to juggle with our jobs and with your siblings and with this homeschool thing. We just can't add something else that happens every single week. But, I can get you together with your friends. Yeah, sure. They can come over and hang out. You guys can, go to the pool, so-and-so's pool. They can come over here and you guys can go to the park. Yeah, that's fine. Sometimes those more informal, casual get-togethers are not as stressful as every Monday at 2:00, we have to be at this thing. It's nice to not have things that are scheduled, right? Things that we feel like, we're obligated. I'm paying for this, so we need to go. No, you just say, you know what? Friends. We'll focus on friends. We'll keep building those relationships. I'll get you together with your friends as often as I possibly can. But we're not going to go overboard trying to do all of this extra stuff. So if that has been something that has been really heavy on your heart as a parent, thinking about all the things your child is going to miss this year, hey, it's 1 year. It's just 1 year. Missing out on whatever thing they're missing out on this year is not going to ruin them forever. They'll have those opportunities next year. They will learn other things this year. They'll have other opportunities this year that they would not have had if you hadn't had the chance to bring them home for homeschooling. So I hope that kind of gives you some relief. If you felt like you needed permission to not schedule 8 million things into your calendar every day just so your child is being socialized, then consider this your permission. You do not have to do that. It's not healthy to do that. Build your family connections. Build healthy peer relations with their actual friends. Look for ways that you can truly socialize them. Help them get out with other people who are not like them so that they can learn what it's like to be in a world where not everybody looks like you, because that is the world they are going to be in, not the world where everyone looks exactly like them and is their same age and same whatever. So if you have any questions about socialization, please go ahead and leave them here. If you are wanting to read a little bit more on the whole socialization thing and you haven't seen our ebook yet, I have a whole chapter. It's the biggest chapter in the whole ebook, which is not saying much because most of the chapters are like a page and a half. So it's not a very big ebook, but I think that one's like 6 or 7 pages. If you haven't gotten our ebook yet, you can go to my blog, which is, nope, wrong button. There we go, is that one. Goodschooling.net/blog, scroll all the way down, and I think our second post on the blog is called The Truth About Homeschooling. You can click on that and you'll see a place where you can download our ebook. And if you're already on our email list, then you've already gotten an email that tells you how to get to our resource library. So that's where the ebook is. You can go into the resource library and you'll see all the resources that we have, and you can download any of them anytime you want to. And if you're not on our email list yet and you want to be, then go right here, goodschooling.net/blog, or just go to goodschooling.net. And at the bottom of the page, I believe, there's a place you can put your email address in and you'll be added to the list and you'll get that link. But that article, that chapter in the ebook talks about, what socialization looks like in the schools. And remember, I was an elementary and middle school teacher for 6 years. So I've had public school and private school experience. And of course, just like you, most likely grew up in public school. And so we know what it was like when we were kids. I can guarantee you it is significantly more difficult now to be a student in public school than it was when we were kids. Way harder. And I don't mean academically. But that chapter talks about the whole socialization thing, the parts that we do need to be concerned about and the parts that we do not need to be concerned about. So definitely get that if you haven't seen that yet. Mark your calendar every Monday at, noon, at noon Central. I'll be back here with another live stream to help those of you who are new to homeschooling, but particularly those of you who are planning on just homeschooling this year. And also remember, if you have not seen the article yet that I created just for homeschoolers that walks you through what you need to do to get started and how to, curriculum and everything, then go here again to the blog. And the most recent article, so it'll be the one at the very top, the most recent article is called Just This Year Homeschooling Guide. So definitely be sure to check that out as well. All right, let me know what other topics you'd like to see these live streams on. I've already got a list going, but I'm definitely going to take suggestions because I want to make sure I am talking about the things that you guys are the most concerned about. So I hope you have a great afternoon. I am looking forward to getting to know you and helping you with this school year, and I will see you again later. All right, take care. Bye.